back to Open Your Eyes. It's all about hurricane safety and health first. And of course, in studio, we have this conversation with the EMT of the year, Javier. Welcome back. And thank you so much for being here with us.
Good morning, Belize. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here again. Open your eyes, great Belize.
You done sitting you?
Yes, I'm sitting you. I'm not going the whole tour, but I'm sitting you.
Okay.
Yeah, I want one of this shirt right now.
Okay.
I like it. I like the white one, though.
Oh, specifically the white one. But
let's jump
into health first and hurricane
Yes.
safety. You know, we often, it's kind of like a seasonal conversation that we have, but I feel like it's a conversation that we should be having year round, simply just to get it in the mindset of our Belizeans.
That's true.
When it comes to health-related safety measures, particularly for the hurricane season. What is step one?
Wow. Okay, well, that's a big question, but I want to start from my point of view.
Sure.
I wouldn't consider myself a hurricane expert at that, but I consider myself as somebody who planned for hurricane every year for the past something years, right? So basically, let's start off. First of all, you know, I begin a safety. I begin a EMT paramedic. So my first goal is to, whenever I start my plan, is to make sure I have a first aid kit. But I can't use a first aid kit if there are no first aid. And when I say first aid, I mean everybody in the family. The ma, the pa, the brother, the sister, the auntie, the uncle. There's reasons for that. The hurricane shelters, when I was in the Belize Defense Force, I was in a hurricane shelter, a company learning to be a shelter management personnel. And I say, what happened? All right? There comes a time when shelter managers lose control because of the public fear. All right? So I watch things that happen. So for that, I could talk from that experience. Somebody fearful, you start to have panic attacks. People don't know what to do. You have to keep them calm. If somebody have a panic attack, you need to know how to calm them down. Give them a paper bag so that they could blow in there until they could get rid of the CO2 where they made a retain, carbon dioxide where they made a retain. So that's one of the first steps you have to think about. First aid kit, having a first aid training, everybody in the family. You don't need one, because if you're the only person who know first aid, the great Belize, and something happened to you, what he do? He don't know nothing. So everybody, the more people will learn, the better. Now when you talk about a first aid, I talk about planning. Your kit, first aider, you have to have a plan. Just now Simo mentioned it. By the way, I work pretty close with Simo in terms of first aid and that sort of thing. So we work very well together. Your kit has to have several things. What are the things you need when you think you're gonna run out, where you're gonna need if a hurricane come, light go, and you're there for a couple of days? What are the things you think you're gonna need? So you have to think along that line. You need what? Water. They tell you need water for how long? Maybe 3 days, maybe 4. But what if water run out? Where you get water from? Let's talk about a big disaster. Where you get water from? You need to get water from anyway, because you need to quench your thirst. But what you must have in your first aid kit, or what you must have apart, you have to have some kind of bleaching, disinfectant, your Clorox. So when people go there, not think about anything, but you have to think about it. You carry your Clorox, even if you want to lead a bottle of Clorox with you, put it in a hard bottle, make sure it lasts. And when you get your 5 gallon, put 1 teaspoon of water, Clorox in another 5 gallon of water. When you drink it, you taste what scent of Clorox, it might even smell of Clorox, but guess what?
It's safer.
It's safe.
Yeah.
All right? So that's the water part. If you're full of water and the water look cloudy, right? The water gets cloudy, then you double the dose. Because the cloudiness means there's more contaminants in there. 1 no, I do it, you need 2 teaspoons. The next thing you need to survive the fire, because you have to keep warm if you don't got light. So what the things you need for nighttime if you don't got light? What you need?
Candle.
Candle. If you get candle, you have to make sure that whenever, because I always stress this, fire, you don't want to get out of control. You have to control that. And so children should never ever play with that. So besides, when you need fire, you need your candle. What I light your candle?
Match.
Either a match
lighter.
or a lighter. You have the thing, you have the bottle will have big mouths. Like something where personally I use that ain't Gatorade bottle. Now, not to promote Gatorade, but because they have a big mouth, a lot of things could fit in there, and you make sure it's securely tight. If you're the care match, make sure you're waterproof your match. Again, I'm showing some of the military side of me.
Right.
What we used to do when you have waterproof match, you don't got none, you can't find none, but you could make it. You get the match, you wrap it with a piece of tissue, the other toilet paper or any kind of paper. And then the candle, in a preparation phase, this is the way I do now, because you now wait for do it at the Hurricane Center.
Yeah.
You want to do it now. You wrap it around the matchstick, and then you release bitter so make it could stick, you hold, you buy a candle, and you put it in there, and you take it out. What the candle do, that secure it. That could get wet. When you don't throw it in water to a float, that not get wet. When the time for use it, you clean off the top of the match head where the candle is on, and when you like that, you light longer than a regular match.
Yeah.
So you waterproof your match. Now you put them in a Ziploc bag, you put them in your bottle. You talk about our next thing, documents. After recovery, everybody want to know where the ID is.
Yep. You need all your IDs and travel documents.
Again,
You need a waterproof.
Again, put them in a Clorox bottle. And everything when you put in your mark or your label. Somebody like me, before I left from my house, you know what I do? I make sure they tie it on too. So yes, I got but not the float out of the way, you know. I got to tie it on to something, one weight, one cement blocks.
Yeah.
So the water going up, it going all the way, but that one stay right there. These are things you have to have. You have to have one mat, one something to cut with. Whether that was pocket knife, all right? You could have a magnifying glass. So these are some of the things you don't want to have.
But how do you
Like
pack?
survival training,
Yes,
man.
yes. But how do you pack essentials and pack light at the same time? Sometimes you feel like all of these things you need everything.
I don't want to
right?
laugh, but I'm laughing.
No,
this is coming
because-
from a woman.
I was about, you know what? I was about to say
You know
that.
what?
Your purse. What all you have? But anyway,
My wallet.
okay. Another one. It's a very good question. Now
Yes.
there's a right hand and a left hand, right? So you have to know what are the things you are left behind, and what are the things you are carrying with you. I don't need my documents with you. Once it's waterproof and I got it properly secured, I don't need to carry that.
Sealed somewhere. Safe.
Right? That will float in there, whatever, in my house if water go up. By God's grace, hope no fire no come, right? And destroy that. But what you need to take with you are things to survive. All right? So you know I carry things like what? Well, I know I can't really put it together.
You don't need
right
a
now.
laptop.
You don't need a
tablet.
You don't need a tablet.
Yes. You
All
don't
right?
need these big equipments, these electronics.
Just carry the basics.
Your phone?
Yes, carry your phone. And if I still believe in the elite portable radios. Okay. And you might say that they're not necessary, but you need a portable. And you have some where that, guess what? Solar now. And even if you don't got solar, they have the powered up battery. Charge up all the things you need for care when you're the caring. And that's why you have family members. If that 3 or wheel of family members, they sign you in charge of everything electronics. Meaning, make sure I got power 24/7.
Yeah.
April in charge of all documents. Javier, make sure in charge of the
Food.
Clorox,
We need
the
somebody
match,
food, man.
everything. And well, we short of somebody, so all we have to take care of our own food. Make sure that we got our own food. Right? But these are things that the public take lightly,
Yes,
but
they
are
do.
things that we really need. All right? As a person when manage our shelter management, maybe everybody don't need to have, you don't need to have waterproof match, but if I don't a shelter manager, I want to make sure I have, even if that, maybe not only for the whole crowd, but for me, and maybe 1 or 2 family might need to keep. Remember, these things are for emergency purposes.
Yeah.
So
And
if they like, they add enough for the like, take out your emergency match and say, boy, watch this, bad, yeah. You use it when you have to use it.
Yeah.
It's a good strategy, and one thing is really important. Like these plans should be happening prior to the hurricane
That's right.
season.
That's right.
Then when panic strikes, you don't have time for really think about any of these things that you're saying, right?
That's true. There is also a point, like I know that some people say, well, my house is strong and I could stay home, right? And if you want to stay home, you still have to have a plan. You still have to have a plan. I come up this building and I noticed 2 things. First, I couldn't come up through the back there. For some reason, I guess security, now it's locked, right? It is okay. And before I come up, the lady had to come open the door. Security purpose is very good. You have to have a plan. Now my thought in my head, shucks, as a military person, I always think, I get up here, how am I going down? It look like I have to go back through the same place, but I know I do the back so.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to have a plan. So if in a hurricane, now you have to plan you in your house. Yeah, okay, my house big and strong, but what if water would have reach up here? What do I do?
How do you get out?
How do I get out? You have to plan. And at that point, I could tell you, as a shelter manager, me, again, I make sure I get the 5 gallon, empty 5 gallon. I make sure I have a long rope. Rope maybe 25 feet, so long. Because rope, might be an extra load that you don't have to carry. And why do I have that? Because if I need to float out of the brother, I want to survive.
Yeah.
I will survive. So you have to think, have a plan, have a big picture. And if I think about it for myself, I have to think about it for my kids, my spouse, and everybody else for the along with me.
Right.
Even my dog, if I have to, but I get strapped onto a 5 gallon. Because in truth,
you float out.
you need to float out.
Yes.
If you don't have a 5 gallon, many of us could go buy them flotation devices.
Because not all dogs are good swimmers and they can't stay floating for too long.
And they might go there in one room. Then they might want to stay with you.
Yeah.
All right. So your flotation device, you need that for if you need to move anywhere, somewhere close.
Yeah.
Okay. Like fire. If I stay and I say hurricane go, guess what? At the highest building here, but the wrong way.
The row building?
Okay.
So that's my plan. I want to float and I go. I want to make sure I reach there.
Yeah.
I want to hold on to that and I wait that direction. I don't go in so can nothing else say high at the highest point.
So you were talking about safety tips. Persons need to actually understand safety measures. What are safety measures? CPR, ensuring that they could put a bandage on. What are some other
Okay,
tips?
so if you go down the road of first aid, and I recommended earlier, the first thing I recommend, you need to take a first aid course, and only you, your family. All right, you take that course. If you need, let's say you see somebody to bleed, first of all, be calm. And once you calm, you want to know what to do. You remember all your training. Okay? Again, your manager, where NEMA will send to you when the shelter manager, they will be training first aid. But what if they have to attend to other people? You have to be able to help yourself. All right? So in the military, you shoot, you get shot, you think anybody have to turn around and help you?
You have to figure that out.
You have to help yourself and then get up and start to go back the way you do. So you have to be ready for anything. Like, I mean, discuss this topic with somebody yesterday and I said, but what if somebody got seizures?
Turn them to the side. Put them on the ground.
Left them to have their seizures, clear the area, and when they stop shake, you put them in a recovery position. It's a simple tips like these that you have to remember. There's nothing you could do for a seizure patient. You can't stop the seizures. That will stop eventually. So things like that are the things where that's why you have to take off first aid training, and you have to learn. You have to make sure your child learn it. Make sure everybody learn it. You understand?
What goes in a first aid kit?
Okay, the last time I was here, I sent a paper
pamphlet,
with
a manual.
detailed kit, what you need here. But basically, let me see if I can remember off the head of my mind. Personally, if you don't know nothing about medicine, you're not good for put any kind of pills in there. Because when people are allergic to anything, you don't want to share it with people. If you know your whole family member, you know what they're allergic to, or you know what if they're hemophiliac, if they whatever.
Penicillin.
So you can use these things. But if you don't know it, then no. If I were somebody else, we put together a first aid kit, you're not find no aspirin, no Tylenol in it, because I don't think that you will be aware of that. Okay? So things you have to have are like one tweezer, scissors, bandages, warm blanket, the aluminum foil blankets.
Peroxide?
A
Butler peroxide?
Butler peroxide, alcohol for sterilization, eye wash. I can't remember it all of them, but I think I mentioned quite a few.
Maybe some cotton swabs or something?
Cotton swabs, that's right, for cuts, Vaseline, how you call it?
Antibiotic.
Triple antibiotic cream. All right? They're not the basic thing, just the basic things you need on a first aid kit. If you're somebody, when I'm a nurse or doctor, you have one available, they will know what to give you. They probably have your Tylenol and your aspirin and whatever else stuff you might need to have.
But you as somebody that is at home, you kind of are aware, right, of some of your allergies. You would know what
Family
to pack
members,
in.
that's right.
Yeah, you would know what to pack in.
But if you go into a new area, where everybody there, you don't know nothing about it,
yeah,
then you have to be very careful with your administration and medications and that kind of thing.
when you're in a shelter, and this is just it's from, you said you're managing shelters before, how are you able to be organized and ensure that everybody is safe and well equipped.
Okay, so on paper, it's perfect.
Yes.
But when the thing happen, everything just get out of control.
Chaos.
So you have to be a strong person to start with. You have to be strong and you snowball right away what you need to snowball. Nobody, and from each household, you make sure that, listen, you will manage your family, but you 4 family want report to Isani. You 4 want report to April. So you don't want to have a couple, just like how you don't manage a business.
Yeah.
You have to have managers, and you don't micromanage. You're the overall maker of decisions, but you have to have managers who want to make decisions for you. Okay? So without that structure, you don't have nothing. So somebody that 4 family where you in charge that should never come to me. You go to Isani and report it to me, and we are discuss how we are remedy it and stuff like that. If somebody they give problem in your family, guess who in charge of that 4 family? Isani that he have to deal with that issue. If we have to get the police involved and let's have a policeman, then we'll get the law involved and that kind of thing. The biggest issue we have is that we have people where, you get people in our enclosed area at a time when the disaster is going on. At first, everybody try to relax. But when one person start to panic, everything go chaotic.
Everything go haywire.
So that's the reason why one person was in charge of you, and if that one person in your group that you have to smother that quick. However, so next thing I forgot to mention when you go down hurricane, carry some games, man. Carry games, carry checkers, carry cards, but not to go gamble. All right, you're not going to gamble.
It's just
I have to left my feet shore
to pass
But
the
you're not
time.
going to gamble. You just to pass. It's just to pass the time.
Yeah.
I remember hurricane in the past, and I remember everybody they frightened up, open their eye, and I said, guys, we could play some dominoes. Everybody want to play domino. Everybody forget that the storm they come.
Yeah.
By the time that storm pass, we don't play so much game.
Yeah.
Everybody, even the children, has to be entertained.
Yeah.
You have to get designators to entertain the children.
And that's why I said no tablets, no laptops, but then what do you give your kids for entertainment?
You have your board games.
Picnics still play board games?
Yes,
Some
well, this
do,
is
I
a time
guess.
for them to learn and bring it back.
I just ask.
Well, yes, we still do. Like you have, like me personally, I always have a board game time.
Yeah.
A board game time. Let's go make a play Sofich.
Yeah.
Come make a play All Fours. Come make a play Uno. One of the biggest game you could carry the Uno that keep you entertained.
You
for a
just
long
said
period
no
of time.
chaos and you are talking about Uno.
But that's not within a scope, within a little. It's a fun game. You keep just to keep your mind off of any kind of distraction.
Right.
Well, next thing to when most of we forget, after the hurricane has passed, your well-being is very important. So what do you need? Do you want, when you go there and you see disaster, your mind they go all over the place. We forget that, listen, this is when Channel 5 and Channel 7 and the other stations need to put on something where uplift people's thoughts.
Yeah. You need more inspirational quotes and
Inspiration.
things that would
Inspiration.
make us bounce back. Yeah.
So I was used, I recall San Pedro, I think I'm a Mitch. Yes, in Mitch,
98.
because I'm just young in the field. When San Pedro had a disaster, guess who they sent out there? Ozzy. Ozzy for the children.
Life
but then
of
that I went, I do
spirits.
in a 2 hours or so, but then the next couple of hours I had to work as a medic.
Yeah.
So you have to lift people's spirits by any means necessary. For people where have a phobic for clowns and so, you bring on programs or bring something else where they are like.
Yeah.
I think
Something
he's talking
that will-
about you, April.
You know, he knows it. I'm fine. The world knows it. It's okay. But no, you're absolutely right. It is our job to try to boost morale.
Yes, you have
in
to
any
boost
way that
morale
we
because
can.
you guys would probably have the waves open. You're probably more prepared. Just like my family have to prepare for a hurricane, you have to prepare as well. I'm sure that entails generator and fuel and everything else that comes around.
I think finally for what our viewers might want to know in terms of health and safety tips, Javier, the vulnerable members of our society, when they're trying to ensure that they get to safety, pregnant women, the elderly, children, how can we maneuver that?
Okay, so I always believe in the fact that preparation is key. And by that I mean, if CMO they tell you this is the last call, react. If you don't feel comfortable, react. Not stay there until they can go for you because then that you are in a trouble.
Yeah.
That's always a problem.
Yeah.
Like, and we had this conversation
Earlier.
And it happen over and over because people just
Yeah.
difficult to deal with.
People wait until the last minute until the proverbial hits the fan before they decide to move, and then they endanger everybody else. All the first responders.
But there is there is a
line.
cutoff time for everybody else. I remember when I was at Bert, we were talking about once it strike phase 2, we were out of here. So anything we could work out doing phase 2. But one phase 2 come, we gone.
Yeah.
So no call for the ambulance, can none there. Guess who might have to come? Might be the BDF and that kind of thing. But you endanger people's life when you do that.
And
I think of a
that's what
classic
we don't think
example, and
about.
perhaps you could end the conversation on this note, right? There was a weather system that passed through Vista del Mar, and I could recall people were on their roofs calling for assistance, and the BDF had to go in, right? At a point where prior to that weather system making landfall, they were advised, you need to move out of that area if it's low lying, it's right next to the sea, you have to move out from there. They waited until water was above a certain height, they have to go on their rooftop. Now they're calling for assistance. The BDF now has to put his or her life on the line to go out there and rescue people.
Not to mention the resources as well.
You have to draw a line at some point. You have to draw that line and say, okay, you don't come, we'll mark you as X and we'll pray for you. That's it. Because the prayers now might help me when I go in for help you.
Yeah.
And we have to remember this.
Everybody have to go home to their family.
That's a hard decision.
It is
though.
but you have to
Everyone
make
has
it
to go home to his or her family, and
Yeah.
that's the prevailing thought, right? That yes, while I'm here to go and rescue Javier, I have to make it back home to my wife and kids too.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right? So
We're not community oriented.
One of the first rule in a first aid basically is who comes first? You. Depending on the nature of your job, you have to work, but there has to be a time limit. Like I tell you, we're going up to phase 2, but once you say phase 2 is called off and we got that third flag, now we got to move. So anybody else were left behind, I start, we just pray for you. We gone. You have to think about you.
Yeah.
And that works even for the military or anybody else who stay behind for help you. Because at some point you have to call it. You can't push people's lives in a danger. You had enough time to do what you have to do.
Yep.
Just call the shots and
It's everybody's responsibility to be
That's
safe.
right. Yeah.
Indeed. Javier, thank you so much for joining us this morning. As always, a pleasure. Thank you so much for not bringing Ozzy with you.
And I want to say thank you guys for calling me. I'm more than willing to come back at anything. Next time I call, I want to call as Ozzy. April, can you please be on set? It'll be a
we
challenge.
could arrange that.
Nope.
You have to get her over her fear of clowns, man.
I think I've survived this long, guys. I think we're good. But thank you so much. And of course, we do always welcome you
Thank you.
back.
Appreciate it.
We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, Isabella Zabane shares her journey to the Miss Universe crown. We'll be right back.